We were telling you that he's going to be on with us. He is one of the outstanding boxing analysts out there today. He works for Showtime, but he wants to take off the headset. He wants to take away the microphone. He wants to get back in the ring against Conor McGregor. Paulie Malignaggi, welcome back to the show. And what has started this up again with you and Conor?
Hey, guys. What's up, man? How you guys doing?
Great, Paulie. How are you?
I'm good, man. Always good to talk to you guys. I don't think anything started it. I think you know what it is, man. I wouldn't necessarily think I'm ready to get in the ring with him, because I don't think I would commit to something like that, because he's got a fight coming up, and it's more so the issue he has. I feel like his pride is hurt. He still thinks about the beating he caught every day in the gym last year. He had 4 seconds of highlights, and it's burning him inside that he only has 4 or 5 seconds of highlights in 36 minutes, because he thinks about me every single day. His personality, his behavior pattern is very consistent with this. A year later, he is still tweeting about me. A few months after we sparred, he put highlights, his only highlights he had on the documentary that came out of his as well. So he's really, he's all by himself. He's coming up with these ideas to think about Paulie Malignaggi, and I feel bad. I feel bad. I heard his pride. I heard him as a man. He gets his feelings up and his hopes up when all his fans, they get his back on social media, and they believe, based on 4 seconds of highlights, they believe him. And that gets his hopes up, so he needs a little pick me up, so he'll post a tweet once in a while about me, or he'll put the highlights on his documentary, like just to give himself a little pick me up, just so his fans can tell him, yeah, Conor, you're the man, yeah. But when he lays his head on the bed deep at night, he knows he's one of combat sports' biggest, and that's the problem. He knows who he is inside. And I think that was the case here the other day when he put this tweet out. He couldn't stop thinking about me again. It was a year to the day or whatever it was. I didn't know. It was news to me. Then the tweet came out of him. And, of course, he ended up having to tweet it again. I know, guys, I really feel bad. I don't know if you guys have any friends that have dealt with this kind of thing where, you have something that it bothers you, and it's an issue that bothers you, and then you can't stop talking about it. And you tell them, like, hey, man, it's in the past. You can get over this. Because then the same month, he got his ass beat by Floyd Mayweather as well. So it was really, really a tough month. It really was. And so it's probably one of the tougher months of his life that it's hard for him to get over. Last August, but really, he needs good friends, and I don't know if he has any. Somebody's got to remind him he made $100 million. Somebody's got to remind him that he's living on a good life. He just had a baby. He had a lot of things that really should distract him, and to not think about Paulie Malignaggi. I don't know what you guys feel about this, but you make $100 million. You have a couple of kids with a couple of women in the past year, like he did. You got a documentary that came out. You got like all this stuff going. You just signed a big fight. I don't know. I really feel bad for him. Don't you? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, Paulie, let me just backtrack for a moment. I do believe that, as far as I know, and as far as Jerry knows, we're looking at each other, passing notes. Isn't Conor married? And you're saying he had a couple of women. I'm just going on what you said a few moments ago.
I'm going by what was in the tabloids last year when he said he had 2 women pregnant at the same time. I didn't make this up. The tabloids, and then all of a sudden we stopped hearing about a second woman. I don't know what ended up happening. So I'm going by the tabloids. That was public knowledge that Conor had 2 women pregnant at the same time last year.
Listen,
whatever is his business or not, I could care less. Whatever he does in his private life. I'm just saying that he's had 2 kids, and that should be a distraction from Paulie Malignaggi. I don't care whether he had 1 or 2 kids. What I'm saying is I said it based on public news last year when both women first got pregnant, that there was 2 women from Conor McGregor pregnant at the same time. I didn't make that up. That was in the tabloids. At the time, then you stopped hearing about the second one, the one that wasn't his wife.
Yeah, Paulie.
But regardless, it's still an example of what I'm saying. It's still an example that whatever it is, there are plenty of distractions that should really have made you move on from Paulie Malignaggi. That's the bottom line. That's really the point that I was making.
Paulie, obviously, you're a Class A boxer. You were a world champion. Obviously, he's a great promoter. He promoted what he had to do to make a phenomenal payday against the Floyd Mayweather. And I agree with you. He could not stay in the ring with a Floyd Mayweather once he got tired. Now, did you find him physically? Is he very strong? Was he very strong?
No. He wasn't very strong. He's a grown man, so if a grown man hits you, obviously it's going to be respectable. If he hits you clean, he wasn't very strong. You can see the highlight he has. It's round 12. It's a tired Paulie Malignaggi, and he finally needed round 12 and 11 to finally get a highlight. That's how bad he looked in the whole sparring. So he needed round 11 and 12 to get a highlight. Even the left hand that lands in the round 12, because he takes a clip of round 12 and then he backtracks it and cuts it to a clip of round 11 when he pushed my head down and I went down. From a push down of my head in the back of my neck. But really, what the problem is here is, you can see his power clearly. Look at round 12 when he lands that left hand. It doesn't even move me. It literally doesn't move me. He has to push me afterwards. That's round 12. That's his power that lands cleanly. And granted, yeah, you got headgears on and you got 16-ounce gloves. But and Jerry, I'm sure you can attest to this. When you're sparring a really big puncher, it doesn't matter about the headgear or the big gloves. They can punch. I was sparring Amir Imam at the end of my career. That kid was brutal power. Even with 16-ounce gloves. It was some really good pair-ups in the gym. And I can tell you, a half a punch from me or mom was heavier than anything Conor McGregor threw at me last year in sparring, or landed anything on me in sparring. So I wouldn't say there was anything that stood out about him. You give somebody respect and credit for trying the sport, getting in the ring. But then again, come on, guys. If they offer you $100 million, aren't you guys going to try most things that way you wouldn't do? I mean, how much credit does this guy really get?
Damn straight.
I'll give you $100 million. You run in front of the BQE running traffic. You might do it. If you live through it, you get $100 million. So technically, I don't really know how much credit he really gets for fighting Floyd Mayweather last year. Floyd Mayweather, who, mind you, had been retired for 2 years, was 40 years old and shop-worn, had been kind of hanging out for 2 years and just going on vacations, barely trained for the fight aside from the road work. Didn't start working with his father as a trainer until 2 weeks before the fight, so he barely trained. Even the training he did do, he had no trainer doing it. And then he comes in and embarrasses this guy, literally embarrasses him. So he has to go easy on him just so the guy can last a few rounds. When I asked Floyd Mayweather, I actually was in Floyd Mayweather's locker room after the fight. I asked him, I said, Floyd, why didn't you just cut off the ring so you stop him? He goes, I didn't want to cut off the ring. I wanted him to go a few rounds. And he goes, we got entertained, and I wanted to punish him a little bit. When you got a guy who just only jogs to train for you, telling me that's a joke, bro. That's a joke, And so people give him all looking for all kinds of credibility and whatnot. I feel bad for him. Like I said, this had nothing to do with me. I feel bad for the guy that he still actually thinks about it. It must have hurt him more than I realized that what I did to him in that sparring session. Because here's the problem, and it wasn't just the beating he caught. I talked to him the whole way because he was already on my last nerve by the time we sparred that day. So I talked to him the whole way. So as a man, when you're being disrespected while you're getting beat up, and you're being disrespected and you're getting your manhood questioned while you're being beat up the whole time, I think a prideful person like Conor McGregor is probably feeling it a little bit. I think he's probably hurting a little bit. I think it irked him more than even I realized. He still hasn't got over it. I mean, he's got a great set of fans that always got his back. Like, if I tweet anything about him or say anything about him, I can't get over him. But if he keeps tweeting about me or talks anything about me, he's trying to bait me. You got to love his fans, isn't it? If you are saying any of these things, congratulations, you are a grown man groupie. You are grown up. As a kid, you can you can get a pass. But a grown man making excuses for another grown man, that's some groupie stuff. And that's the problem with this generation too. A lot of people are prideful in their groupie antics. But really, for me, I felt bad, honestly. I felt bad. Like, at first I got mad, when I saw the tweet, but then I thought about it after. I said, maybe I shouldn't have put that tweet out there. I feel bad for this guy because, he's clearly dealing with some emotional situations from that sparring last year, and it's still bothering him. And I feel bad. I don't want to be the guy to do that. I don't want to be the guy to do that to somebody.
Paulie, I'm going to tell you something. Maybe he's putting your name out there because maybe he does want to have another fight. What do you think about these crossover fights? They're starting to come around. They're talking about a couple other guys crossing over.
Dillashaw, Gervonta Davis, and on and on.
Yeah, I promise you guys, he wants no piece of me. I promise you guys, there's a reason. You don't think he would want to put more highlights out of the sparring if they existed? That's what's bothering him. It's bothering him so much that he only has 5 seconds of highlights, in 36 minutes. If he had any more highlights, he'd be dying to put them out there, dying. He has maybe 1 or 2 punches left that he landed the entire sparring. That's it. I mean, he's dying, and that's what's bothering him, and it's irking him, and it's emotionally distressing him. There's no way he fights me. There's no way. He knows that was Paulie Malignaggi out of shape, and he knows that was Paulie Malignaggi coming in not even sharp, and still he put a beating on him. Like that, there's no way he goes near me because he's not any kind of a man at all to even finish the 12-round fight with Mayweather based on his fatigue. There's no way. This guy is always a punk. This guy always looks for the way out. Sure, he's got some skills. He's got some skills in mixed martial arts. He doesn't have any skills in boxing, but sure, he's got some mixed martial arts skills. But character is character, and be it in the ring or in the cage, when this guy is tested and when this guy's back is against the wall, he always folds like a beach chair because he has no balls, and that's what I keep saying. And I feel sorry that I keep saying it because I think that's what's emotionally distressing him, is because I think deep down inside him, I think he really feels that and he understands that and he knows that, but he hates to admit it, and he knows he's looking at me, and I'm like the psychiatrist. I'm looking at him and I'm telling him, Conor, just admit it to me. Look at me in the eyes and admit it. You have no balls, and it's okay. Not every guy has them, But it's okay to admit that, and you're still a great guy. You're still a guy who's a family man, and you got kids, and you got a lot to live for. Don't be so distressed about it, and that's what I feel bad for, But I keep saying it because he gets on my nerves, and then I have to tell him the truth, and I have to remind him of what it is, and and here we are again,
Well, Paulie, listen, being you're such a fan, who wins the fight between him and Khabib?
Him and Khabib, here's the thing about Conor. Like I said, I think it's pretty clear, obviously. I've said that he has no balls. And here's the problem with this fight. Khabib is not a guy who will put you out of your misery. Remember the Nate Diaz fight when he shot in on Nate Diaz and got submitted? Mm-hmm. Nate Diaz is the guy you don't want to wind up on the ground with because he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
He's a beast.
And he'll submit you. and he'll submit you right away. So if you're going to fight Nate Diaz, you have to keep the fight standing up. In that fight against Nate Diaz, though, he's getting pummeled in round 2, and he's going to get pummeled probably for the rest of the fight. So what does he do? He needs a way out of it because he doesn't want to get beat up for 4 straight rounds. So what does he do? He says, if I take this fight to the ground, Nate will submit me, and then it won't look like I quit. Because if you're fighting Nate Diaz, common sense tells you don't want to wind up on the ground. Conor is the one that took that fight to the ground. He shot in trying to take the fight to the ground. Why did they do that? Because he's trying to quit. If Nate puts him in a submission, he can quit, and therefore it looks like, oh, well, I had to tap out. But really, the decision was made when he shot in that he was quitting already. So this guy's a quitter. Against Floyd Mayweather, the same thing. He's trying not to finish on the ground. So what does he do? He stops throwing punches because he knows if I keep trying to fight this guy, he's going to knock me on my ass. So I don't want to wind up on my ass because it's going to make me look bad. So what do? He actually planned the way he was going to lose. If it gets really bad, I'm going to stop throwing punches, and I'm going to make the referee stop the fight while I'm standing up. Then I can fool all the idiots that root for me and tell them and make them look like I got stopped early because I was on my feet. The reality is, if you watch the last round and a half of the Mayweather fight, he's not throwing any punches anymore. Right. He doesn't want any part of Mayweather. He wants the fight stopped. As a fighter, you know, if you don't throw punches, you're going to get stopped. You know, and so that's what he wanted. He quit. Conor McGregor is a genius in that he knows how to quit strategically. His lack of balls is to the point where he actually plans the way he's going to lose.
Well, he was very tired, Paulie. He was very tired. He was out of stamina.
Jerry, we've all been tired. We don't quit because we're tired, though. Right. Come on, we're fighters. We quit. You know, you quit because it's something else. Well, fighters barely quit to begin with, but if you're tired, it's not a reason to quit. You find a different way out of it. You know what I'm saying? You find a different way in the fight. You know, you struggle through it. It's called hard. It's called character. It's called a lot of things. We've all been tired. You don't quit because you're tired. I'm sorry. That's not an excuse for a professional fighter of that level to quit. It's because you're tired. That's something that an amateur fighter does when he's tired. An amateur fighter with not a lot of experience even amateur fighters don't quit. Okay, so if you're a fighter, the word fighter means you fight through certain uncomfortable situations, one of them being fatigue. Okay, so being tired is not an excuse to quit in the fight, especially in a fight of that level. And lastly, Khabib is not a kind of guy who's known as a submission guy. Now, I'm not a mixed martial arts expert, but Khabib is more of a ground and pound kind of guy, which means you don't have the option to be submitted, really, because Khabib will just keep you on the ground and punish you and beat you and beat you and beat you. Now, granted, Conor has some skills on standing up a little bit, and maybe Khabib is going to have a hard time getting him to the ground. But if this fight winds up on the ground, it's only beating for Conor. So how is a guy with no balls going to take a good beating for 5 rounds when he looks to quit as soon as he gets uncomfortable? You know, that's the question of the day, really. You know, that's really the question of the hour for this fight. You know, and granted, now you got me hyping his next fight, so it's beautiful. You know, we're hyping the next fight or whatnot. But regardless, the fact is, he's going to look for a way out of that fight too. There's no way he's not. Look at round 5 of the Diaz rematch. He's literally running for his life. Who does that? With the fight hanging in the balance, who runs the entire final round? You know what I'm saying? And he was given the decision, and a close decision. It could have went either way. Who takes that chance, though? Think about it. Again, these are all character flaws of a man with no balls. When when you're a fighter, you can tell right away who's got character and who doesn't. This guy has none, so he tries to play it up in other ways so that he covers up the fact that he has no balls. And I think that's what really sent him into this depression that he can't stop thinking about me, because he knows I call his bluff. He knows I call his cards right away. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why he's been thinking about me for a year straight, to the point where even when we were reminded that it was a year to the day of the sparring, Conor McGregor let us all know, because he still thinks about Paulie Malignaggi every day. He was counting the days. Oh, it's been a year. I got to make sure I tweet about Paulie, you know. And here we are, you know. So I feel bad. I really do, because he's a family guy. You know, he's a guy who made a lot of money. He's got a lot going for him, and I hope he really gets over this, you know, because unfortunately, you know, he's not going to be able to make it right in terms of being able to beat me up, because that's just not in the cards. He doesn't know how to do that. You know, he'll just get his ass whooped again every time he comes near me. You know, I got in his face. I got in his face in Las Vegas and told him he has no balls, right to his face. You know,
I got to tell you something. You're being way too nice to this guy.
No, it's not that I'm being nice, Jerry. I feel bad. I really do. I'm a nice guy, Jerry. I feel bad. Like, I don't want this guy to go into this emotional distress right before a big fight because he's still thinking about me. Like, here's my advice to Conor. Conor, you know, focus hard, focus strong. You know, Khabib Nurmagomedov is not Jose Aldo. He's not going to fall for your trash talking and get all emotional in the first round.
Paulie,
stupid. You know, these Eastern Euros, they are emotionless.
Paulie, we're out of time here.
We love you, brother. We love you, Paulie.
I hope he does well. I'm rooting for him. I'm pulling for him.
Paulie Malignaggi here on Sirius XM.
We love you, buddy. We love you, Paulie. Thank you.